all-girls secondary school, which is renowned for its rigorous curriculum, also known as Bright Future Academy, had Bella as their top student. At 16, Bella stood out for her exceptional intellect as well as her stunning beauty. Bella had always been at the top of her class and worked hard to stay there. Every day, she would get up early, dress in her pristine school attire. Her long black hair was always neatly tied in to top bones, and she would go to school with her friends, a resolute gaze on her face. As she walked through the school gates, everyone would stare at her face, which was naturally stunning and didn't need any makeup, and whisper, "There goes Bella, always perfect, always the best." The other girls would say, but Bella paid no attention to these remarks. All she cared about was her schoolwork. She sat at the front of the classroom, soaking in every word the teachers said. When a question was asked, her hand was always the first to raise, and her answers were always accurate. However, Bella's beauty was becoming a distraction, and even the teachers couldn't help but stare at her during class. When explaining mathematical problems to Bella, Mr. Johnson, the math instructor, frequently fumbled over his words, and Mr. Jerry, the literature teacher, couldn't help but admire Bella's elegant writing and insightful essays. In spite of all the fuss, Bella was still clueless. When school ended, while other students hurried home or to their clubs, Bella would remain in the classroom, get her books out, lay them on her desk, and focus on her studies. One evening, while the sun was setting and casting long shadows over the deserted classroom, Bella was so engrossed in her literature textbook that she didn't notice someone enter the room. "Bella, you're still here," someone said. Bella turned to see Bisi, one of her classmates, standing at the door. With a smile, "Oh hi, Bisi," Bella said. "Yes, I'm simply finishing up some additional reading." Bisi approached Bella's desk, her eyes going over a stack of books. "If I were as beautiful as you, I wouldn't stress myself studying all the time." "You could easily get favors from the teachers who admire you," Bisi remarked. "What do you mean by that?" Bella asked. Bisi smiled playfully. "Haven't you noticed how the teachers look at you? Especially Mr. Johnson and Mr. Jerry. You could probably get good grades without all this extra effort." Bella's brows furrowed in bewilderment. Bisi shrugged. "It's simply an idea, anyway. I'm on my way home. Don't stay too late, all right?" Bella was surprised that she had never considered utilizing her appearance to her advantage, but she said to herself that this would be inappropriate. Bella gathered her belongings and went home, her head full of this new notion. She had always believed in hard work and integrity, but was Bisi correct? That using her beauty to her advantage could make life simpler? With these ideas weighing on her mind, as she strolled the streetlights cast a gentle radiance on the pavement. But she couldn't get Bisi's words out of her head, and for the first time, she saw her attractiveness as something more than simply physical. Bella's parents greeted her warmly when she arrived at home. They had always supported her studies and were proud of her accomplishments. But tonight, Bella was preoccupied during supper. Rather than opening her books as usual, she was still thinking about Bisi's proposal. In her bedroom, she stood in front of her mirror, gazing at her reflection, taking note of her clear complexion, brilliant eyes, and delicate features. She had been oblivious to the power she possessed. While she was laying in bed that evening, she couldn't sleep. Bella chose to experiment with something new and see if Bisi was correct about the potency of her attractiveness. However, Bella had no idea that this choice would set off a chain of events that would alter her life forever. Bella awoke earlier than normal the following morning. She paused in front of her mirror before reaching for her makeup bag, which was a birthday present she had never used. With shaky hands, She applied a thin layer of foundation, a bit of blush, and a swipe of lip gloss. Her hair fell softly in waves around her shoulders. As Bella entered the school campus, she could feel the change right away. More heads turned than normal, and the whispers seemed louder. Even some of the teachers blinked twice as she walked by. Bella opted to test Bisi's theory in Mr. Johnson's math class when the instructor administered a surprise exam. At first, Bella felt a pang of anxiety since she wasn't prepared for it, but then she recalled what Bisi had said. Bella smiled at Mr. Johnson as he gathered the papers. "Mr. Johnson, I hope I did well on the quiz because I really want to keep my good grades in your class," she said softly. Mr. Johnson seemed surprised and responded, "I'm sure you did fine, Bella. You're my best student." Following all the events of the following day, when Mr. Johnson gave back the graded exams, Bella was shocked to see that her paper had a flawless score, despite the fact that she knew she had missed a few questions. Could Bisi have been right? Bella utilized the same method with other teachers, offering a smile here and a nice word there, and all of a sudden, she started earning excellent marks on examinations she hadn't prepared for. At first, it was a welcome relief to finally be able to relax instead of studying all night. But as the days went by, Bella grew increasingly reliant on her appearance. She didn't believe that a grin or a flutter of her eyelids would be enough to keep her at the top, and for a while it did. But Bella was unaware of the increasing animosity among the girls in her class, who had formerly looked up to her, now whispered behind her back. Bisi was envious and delighted at the same time to see how well Bella was performing in class and how much the teachers seemed to like her. She had planned everything, but she hadn't anticipated Bella's level of success. One day, as Bella was leaving school, she paused outside an empty classroom where she heard two teachers conversing. "Have you seen how Bella's been acting recently?" "Yes, it's a big shift," Mr. Jerry said. "She seems to be using her charms more, which is becoming an issue. The other students are starting to complain that they believe we are favoring her, according to Mr. Jerry." "Well, can you blame us?" Mr. Johnson said with a chuckle. "She's a beautiful young woman, but you're right. We need to be careful. Maybe we can lure her to a hotel on the weekend, deal with her outside the school premises." Bella's heart raced as she rushed away from the door, and for the first time, she felt a twinge of guilt and fear. What had she gotten herself into? That night, Bella was restless and couldn't sleep because she was thinking about what the teachers had said. She was worried that the teachers were paying attention to her conduct, and worse, that they seemed to expect something in exchange for their favors. This wasn't her intention when she began this experiment. Bella felt uneasy the following day at school as her teacher's gaze followed her every smile and compliment, realizing that she had opened a door she didn't know how to close. After school, Bella looked for Bisi and discovered her friend lounging in the schoolyard under a tree, engrossed in her phone. "Bisi, I need to talk to you," Bella said, her voice trembling slightly. Bisi looked up, a slight smile on her face. "What's up, beauty queen? Enjoying your new life?" "I think I've made a mistake," Bella said. "The teachers are starting to want more than just smiles for the favors they're doing me." "What do you mean?" Bisi replied. "They're waiting for something from me, but I don't know what to do." Bisi paused for a second before leaning forward. "If the teachers want more, give them what they want. Bella, you've come this far, don't turn back now." "No, I can't do that," Bella recoiled in disbelief. "Why not?" Bisi insisted. "It's only a little bit further. Consider all the advantages you've been receiving. Do you want to give that up?" "This is incorrect, Bisi. I should never have begun this." I will end it now." As Bella walked away, she was unaware of the sinister expression on Bisi's face, or that her choice to cease would trigger a series of events that would completely alter her life. Bella was determined to make things right the following morning. She went to school without any makeup, wearing her hair in his usual 2 ponytails, and was prepared to accept the repercussions of her deeds and go back to her previous methods of hard labor and integrity. However, the minute she entered the school grounds, she sensed that something was wrong. Students were huddled in little clusters, whispering and pointing at her with bewilderment and concern. Bella made her way to her classroom, but the space went silent as she walked in. Her classmates looked at her with a combination of disgust and compassion. Bisi ultimately broke the silence, asking loudly if it isn't our male teacher's pet, or should I say, little whore. Bella's heart started to soar. "What are you talking about?" Bella exclaimed, feeling as if she had been struck. Bisi stood up with a nasty grin on her face. "Oh, come on, Bella. Everyone knows what you've been doing to get those good grades. Sleeping with the teachers, that's low and evil for you, Bella." Her words seemed to whirl. "That's not true," Bella yelled, but the rumor had spread through the school like Wi-Fi. At that moment, Miss Rose, the head of the school, stood at the classroom doorway with a stained face and a frigid voice, ordering Bella to come with her to her office right away. As Bella followed Miss Rose through the hallways, she could feel everyone's gaze on her, and tears started to form in her eyes. Miss Rose didn't mince words in her office. "Bella, I've heard some very unsettling rumors about you and the male teachers. This is a serious charge." "But it's not true," Bella begged. "I never did anything like that, but I attempted to use my appearance to improve my grades. But I never did anything more than that, I assure you." Miss Rose maintained a stern demeanor. "Whether the statement is true or not, the harm has already been done. Parents are calling and threatening to remove their children. If you stay in the school, you are now a liability." It seemed like the ground had fallen away from under Bella. "Bella, what does that mean?" "It indicates that we have no option but to expel you from Bright Future Academy," Miss Rose said with a sigh. The statement struck Bella hard, sending her flawless record and aspirations of graduating at the top of her class into oblivion. When Bella exited the principal's office, her words in tatters, she saw Bisi standing in the corridor with a triumphant smile on her face. At that point, Bella fully understood the extent of her friend's betrayal. The following days were a blur of tears and disagreements, and Bella's parents were heartbroken by the news of her expulsion. Although they didn't believe the rumors, Bella's parents were upset and heartbroken that she had attempted to use her appearance to advance in her studies. Her father said, "We raised you better than this," his voice laden with disappointment. Bella's mother was more realistic, saying, "You can't let this setback ruin your future. We need to find you a new school." After days of looking, Bella, an SS2 student, was successfully admitted to Pinnacle Success School, a public school that was quite different from the well-known Bright Future Academy. On her first day at Pinnacle Success School, Bella stood in front of the gates and felt like a completely different person. The confident, top-of-the-class Bella was gone, and in her place was a girl who felt lost and alone. However, as she inhaled deeply and entered the school grounds, she felt like a different person. This was only the start of Bella's tale. At Pinnacle Success School, she would face her own set of difficulties and insights. She made a silent promise to herself that this was her second opportunity to demonstrate that she was more than simply a pretty face, and to prove to the world and herself that she could succeed on her own merits. Keep an eye out for part 2.